the Be Awesome Network. I'm so excited to be bringing you Vincent Melling today. Vincent, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. I'm good. Looking forward to talking to you.
Yes, yes. Well, we were just chatting beforehand. We've been trying to make all of the connections and onto into Facebook and all the technology is just so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. But we
Before I
made
got into
it. We
this
made
work,
it.
I was in technology. I know all about it.
I love it. I love it. Well, why don't you tell everyone where are you in the world and what have you been up to lately? Then we're going to kind of get into your story.
Yeah, so I'm in Melbourne, Australia, and I'm a teacher, speaker, author, coach in the field of structured intuition. So this is about learning to use intuition as something that's beyond gut feels and kind of just innate senses and perhaps looking for messages and being able to use it proactively to get information, to get decisions, and yeah, and be able to find our life path as well. That's really important. And be able to kind of set out on a beautiful life journey with a lot of magic flowing in, synchronicities and coincidences. So that's the work I do. Yeah, I'll stop there for
Amazing.
now. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, how did you get into this work? I would love to know, where does this start?
Uh, it is, it's really funny, but there was a synchronicity about it. Um, the simple answer is that I answered an ad. And from the ad, I did an initial training in this work. And that was great. And at the end of the training, uh, the facilitator was running a follow-on training in Africa. And so he asked us all to do this technique that we'd learned, getting a decision intuitively about should we go to Africa to do this training. And everybody tuned in. And I was the only person in the class, I think, that got a no. And I was quite upset about that, but I definitely got a solid no. And so that training came and went. And then shortly after that, I was told that I was going to be laid off from my job and was given an ending date in the October of that year, 2014. And around the same time, the facilitator decided to run a second round of this training, probably a week, 10 days after I was laid off. And the timing was absolutely perfect. And yeah, that's how I got started in the work. It started with a synchronicity.
Love it. Love it. So this training obviously made a huge difference in your life. Can you tell us a little bit about what you learned?
Yes. And it's been a journey. And so the first thing I've learned is to love and appreciate the journey and love and appreciate what the tools are trying to tell you, because what they're trying to tell you and the life path that they're leading you on is not always where you think you're going to go. And um, they're not where you think you're going to go. And they're not what your mind wants and what you want from when you're operating from a point of view of lack. Um, Yeah, so it took me on the journey of a venture to create a wellbeing space that never actually got created. But had it got created, it would have gone belly up in during COVID. It would really have collapsed. So that was fortuitous, and COVID was kind of a bit of a pivotal time because it brought to me a series of coincidences and magic that not only helped me connect with new people in this work, but also create this wonderful book that is now blurred and there it's not blurred, getting into the flow. Um, and it's about a trip that I took to Uluru that used to be known as Ayers Rock in December 2020. And a trip that, when I first heard about it in the previous January, just didn't seem possible. And yeah, that all came around very magically. Hmm.
So, okay, well, let's talk about the trip.
Yeah, let's talk about the trip. Yeah, so um, yeah, I was in a bit of a challenging space in February, March 2020, and then COVID came and we all got locked down. And for me, this was good because of the lockdowns, I suddenly had access to a little bit of additional government support that wasn't there before without actually having to work for it. And that ultimately solved the money side of it. But it was also because there wasn't any outside work going on that I was able to kind of go back inside and just begin to notice that I really wanted to do this trip. And it was something that I said, it's not going to happen. I can't do it. I'm not going to think about it. And then what else happened around that? I connected with an old friend because I thought I would stay. I'd drive up. It's about a 3-day drive. I'd do a road trip, stay with her on the way. And yeah, she decided that she was going to come as well. Now, this was a particularly important time it was connected in with an Aboriginal story, that period that they call the Change, and was a particularly pivotal time to be at Uluru. And yeah, so we all ended up there. There was a lot of kind of, yes, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Are there COVID outbreaks? Can you go to this place? Can you not go to that place? So the road trip became a flight, but yeah, it all worked out in the end. And there were, so there was the money, there was the actual thing happening, there was the timing was all perfect. There was the fact that my friend joined. And then when I got there, more things happened. I met more people unexpectedly, and I was asked to do healing, and all that went beautifully. And then the night of the solstice was particularly magical. I cannot describe it in words. You will have to look at the photograph in the book. And I've actually got that photograph in Facebook somewhere. And there's a group that I've used it for. But it was absolutely unearthly. The Aboriginal elders were telling us that the lights that we were seeing, it was only a particular quality of light. We weren't seeing spaceships or anything, but we were told that Palladians were there, that extraterrestrials were there at the time as well, and had a particular mission around firing up the earth energies, like ley lines that were in that part of the world. Yeah. But the story didn't stop once I'd been there and had this beautiful experience. And there was a bit about avoiding getting locked out of the park as well. We walked around Uluru one day, we went to another spot another day, and very early in the morning, as we were driving out, they locked the park up, and a lot of people weren't able to get in. I want to say they locked the park up. It's like a big national park, tens of square miles, big place. They were just turning people away, ostensibly out of fear of COVID, but we think in practice that there was some Aboriginal ceremonies that might have been going on at the time that they wanted some space for. Yeah. So when I got back, I thought, well, that was a lovely trip. What was it all about? And then intuition started hitting me, as it does sometimes, and saying, write the book. Now you've got to write the book. And so I spent the next 3 or 4 months trying to write the book and playing around and writing and rewriting the opening parts. And then I got this amazing muse, like a spirit guide, come in to lead me through the book. And that really gave the book some energy, because the book is written like a conversation. Most of the book's written like a conversation between myself and my muse, Roxy. She is very big-hearted, but she's also very sassy and very demanding and doesn't let me get away with anything. And it makes for some fun times. And having that really gave the book that kind of extra zip that I was looking for. And then it flowed really nicely. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what is in the book, and obviously you just told the story about, you know, your trip and the amazing things that you experienced, and then you were compelled to write the book. So after you wrote the book, what did you do next, and did you feel like you had completed your journey, or what what was the lesson in writing the book? I would love to know.
Okay, when I'd written the book, there was actually a long journey of editing and rewrite, and the book expanded from 30,000 words to 50,000 words, and that was a wonderful experience in itself. So learning about getting a book published, and it was published with a small publishing company, a hybrid publishing company, but Pat, the publisher, was very, very complimentary about this work. Now, what did I do afterwards, and what did I learn? I think, first of all, the ideas from all books kept coming and kept coming, and it was all. I mean, it's already clear in the book that it is the first of a series, and I am working on the second one in the series, but that little spark, that little extra piece of it that gives it the zip isn't quite there yet. So when that drops in, I think it'll go very quickly, because another kind of little side diversion that I did was a 7-day write and publish a book challenge, and the book that I wrote and published 5,000 words on mistakes people make with their websites. Very kind of mundane topic, but what it brought back to me was, yeah, I love writing. I love being a writer. I can do this. I've got this. And it's given me some ideas about where to go with this next book once I've got a draft in front of me. Yeah.
Very fun. Well, have you
so that was part of it. That was the first part. The second thing that I was told to do by intuition was get the word out about the book. And it led me to start not only looking for interviews on podcasts, on radio, on TV networks, but also to create my own podcast. It's called the Finding Magic Podcast. And what it is little stories of other people having magic occur in their lives, you know, people finding their spouses, people creating trips to Africa for trainings, that sort of thing. So I've done about 10 interviewed about 10 people so far, and got about half a dozen interviews that I've done with other people. The third thing that it's led me into is rebooting my coaching and training program. And so there's a couple of things that I'm working on there. First of all, I'm in a collaboration. We're doing an intro to structured intuition that's going to start in a couple of weeks. It's called Harness Your Intuition. And I'm also off my own back going to start a coaching and training program that has the rather clunky title, Marketing for Conscious Leaders, How to Use Your Intuition to improve your results, something like that. I haven't got a final title, but that's in the works and coming soon. And that reflects, you know, another book that I kind of just came through very quickly. Very kind of it's a very practical book, and doesn't have and it's a shortish one, so it doesn't have the same kind of zip, but it is a great background to the coaching training program, and that's why it was written.
Amazing. Well, so have you, oh, I want to ask you, have you always enjoyed writing, and or is this a new thing for you?
Yeah, I have. Now, when I was a little kid, I was asthmatic, used to have a lot of time off school. One of the things that I used to do, even at 5 or 6 years old, was write newspapers. I would put together a little newspaper and put columns on it and draw pictures and write little articles. And yeah, and I remember that carrying through various little pieces of, little islands of written work that I did during school time. And I had one particular teacher that was very encouraging. Uh, and that was really important because I had a number that were incredibly discouraging. Not saying that I was particularly bad, but I definitely wasn't one of the stars at the time. But yeah, I've always had this feel for writing, and it's a great question you should ask because certainly, certainly once there was a point, in the late 90s where I suddenly found a screenplay coming through, and it's never went anywhere, probably never will. But it was just interesting that it just forced its way through. I need to write this. Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. So you have learned over the years, it sounds like, to kind of follow some nudges or intuition, you call it. So, how has that worked out for you? And what would you have to say about that to some of the people listening?
Well, part of the training is around creating a vision of how you would like your life to be, but it's partly how you would like your life to be, but because it's done from a meditative space, it's more how your soul would like to be, what it's informing you about your life path, where you're going, and what it looks like in all areas of life, whether it's home or family or relationships or soul work or whatever. You get this vision. Out of that, we generally extract a set of choices or goals in different areas of life and tune into those on a daily basis and see what comes up about what should happen next. So we're very much that's what we do. We look at where we're going. We look at where we're at and intuitively ask what's obvious about what needs to happen next. And sometimes that might be, what we were planning to do, but other times it might be, take a step back or, or look at this or investigate that thing there. So yeah, it's very much about listening to the nudges, but also as a daily discipline, going out and asking for them. And it's interesting talking about planning as well. I think it has its role, and there are some things that are very mechanical, and there are some things that are far more intuition led. You putting together a podcast, and me putting together a podcast, there's a lot of mechanical pieces to that. But finding the guests and that sort of thing, very intuition led. Yeah. So it's about blending the two. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually a really great point because you can't really get a nudge or follow your intuition without some sort of action, right?
Yeah. So the other thing that it's got is structure. And we've got a vision, we've got a place we're going, we've got a current reality where we're at now. And that current reality is both physical, where we're at, what's happening, and it's psychological, what beliefs are coming up, what definitions are operating. And it's also very unconscious, which is why it's always good to work with other people, whether it's a coach, whether it's regular group work, but really, really important to get reflection and a feeling into what the unconscious is doing to try and sabotage what you're doing for yourself. I mean, there are exercises you can do yourself as well, but it's so much more powerful with other people. Yeah.
Okay,
So
that's
it
very
is being
helpful.
proactive about using intuition and not just waiting for signs and nudges and gut feels.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's been amazing talking about all of this big stuff with you, Vincent. Could you give us some maybe practical tips on how we can get started on trying to tap into our intuition, or maybe someone wants to start writing a book, or, all of these things are so big that can you give us some practical steps that we can take?
I'm laughing because I'm going to say buy the book. And the reason that I say buy the book is that it actually has the series of steps that we take you through in the training process. And looking at those steps is great. But it really is far and away much better if you can do that training in person, in a group setting. So I am running that, as I said, in collaboration with a couple of friends of mine in the Academy of Intuitive Mastery. Um, that starts in early November. So that I would strongly recommend if it's calling to anybody out there.
Wonderful. Well, we'll be sure to link that in the comments below for anyone who's
Yes.
wanting to sign up. And do you have a website or anything like that?
Yes, my website is vincentgmelling.com. And at the top of the page, you'll see three big buttons, and one of them is about my podcast. So you can go on there and look at all the episodes and find out where you can get it. Another one is about getting the book. Now, for most of your audience, I would imagine, are in the United States. So Amazon is where that will ultimately take them. But in different parts of the world, they will come to get different links for it. And in some places, it's better to order directly from me than it is to go through Amazon because it takes longer or whatever. Or it's more expensive. In some parts of the world, it is more expensive than ordering from me, even with the postage. What else is there? The third thing is engagement. So it does have lists of some of the regular classes that I'm doing, how to talk to me about coaching programs that I might be offering or running. That part is, I'm afraid, a little bit under construction at the moment, but it's mostly there.
Wonderful. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, Vincent. Before
Yeah.
we sign off, is there any final thoughts you want to give our Be Awesome Network audience?
Yes, is the answer. They've just got to drop in. Yes, that your intuition is a really powerful force, and it will really take you to places perhaps that you've always dreamed of, perhaps that you dreamed of once and you've forgotten about, but are really important to you, and certainly to the best ways of living your best possible life, whether that's through service, whether that's through creativity, whether that's having a mission to large numbers, or whether that's being a wonderful carer in a one-on-one situation. It is really a very powerful way of showing you the higher path in life.
Wow, love it. Thank you so much, Vincent, for sharing your big smile and your amazing story and your awesome book and all
Yeah.
the things that you have to offer. Really appreciate you taking time today to come on and share all of that with us. So we'll be sure to link all of that in the comments below. So if you're listening right now and you resonate with Vincent, be sure and check the comments so you guys can connect. And thank you again, Vincent, for being on the Be Awesome Network.
Thank you for inviting me, Laurie. Thank you.
It's a true joy. And if you're listening right now, I just want to remind you that you are awesome and that we can be awesome together. And that's really what it's all about. So thanks again, Vincent, and we'll see you guys next time.